It's around 10:09 in the morning, and I'm in the Shah Jahanpur area at a girls' school, which has been turned into a polling station. And it's the scene that we see across Dhaka. It's a remarkable city. It's the capital of Bangladesh. Millions of people, 127 million people registered to vote across the country, as you've already mentioned. And a lot of those people are in Dhaka. We have around 300 constituencies across Bangladesh as well. We were earlier in the Gulshan area, which is an upscale area, and we saw a lot of activity, a lot of voters lining up from 7:30 a.m. when the polls open, basically. And this process will continue till about 4:30 in the afternoon. There are three major political forces that are competing here. You have the Bangladesh Nationalist Party, or the BNP, which is led by Tariq Rahman. His mother, Khalida Zia, was a former prime minister, and she passed away a few months ago. A lot of people here are basically supporting the BNP, but they aren't the only one. You have the Jamaat-e-Islami as well. That is in a position which it hasn't been in its entire history, at least since 1971. It was targeted and ostracized by Sheikh Hasina, who was the former prime minister of this country, who fled Bangladesh in August 2024. She went to India after the student uprising in the July uprising that year. And since then, the Jamaat-e-Islami has consolidated its position. On the other side, there's a new group called the NCP, which is the National Citizen Party. And these are basically the student leaders that emerged in the summer of 2024 after the anti-discrimination movement turned political and decided to turn its student movement into a political movement. And over the past year, they have been in a coalition of sorts with the Jamaat-e-Islami. Now, these two, the union of these two groups has polarized some voters, especially voters that don't want an outsized role of the Jamaat-e-Islami in politics. A group that is missing at this point is the Awami League, a political group that has been a reality in Bangladesh since the War of Independence in 1971. In fact, this is the first time that the Awami League is not on the ballots, because in May of last year, the Election Commission decided to bar the Awami League on technical grounds and said that they could not compete in these elections. The BNP has boycotted elections in the past. We saw, for example, during the Irshad dictatorship in the 80s, the BNP decided not to participate. In the 17 years previously of the Sheikh Hasina government, the BNP also decided that it was not going to participate in the elections. Its leaders were also targeted. Bangladesh, essentially, over the past 17 years, was a one-party state, effectively, because the Awami League sucked out all political space that was able to other political groups. So with the absence of the Awami League, we have the BNP, which is considered a favorite, but it's still too early to say. The Jamaat-e-Islami with the NCP are also hopeful for their particular position, and we'll see how it plays out. But in these areas, like Shah Jahanpur and Gulshan, the BNP has a strong footing. How will this play out as far as results are concerned? We'll find out in the next hours and the next 24 hours, effectively. But that's the situation here in Dhaka.
Obviously, as we mentioned, as Faisal mentioned, the young demographic, the young voters, the first-time voters is definitely going to be a determining factor. We're talking about the 5 million votes that could make or break this, that could be a decisive point. So let me go back to you and
mentioning young voters, 3.9 million first-time voters in this country. And they are set to change the landscape once again, the political landscape in this country. This revolution that has taken place in this country in 2024 was the result of a student uprising. We're talking about the Gen Z. We're talking about most people that are below the age of 30. And these are the individuals that took charge, so to speak, against what they said was an arbitrary system of giving jobs and employment to individuals that were connected to the previous Sheikh Hasina regime. And it basically was a quota system. that was allowed by the Bangladesh High Court in 2024, which started this whole process of a student uprising. We saw it at Dhaka University, where students came out in their tens of thousands, but it soon turned against the authoritarianism, or what turned into what the students said was the authoritarianism of Sheikh Hasina. And now we know around 1,400 or more than 1,400 people were killed in these protests in 2024. And it didn't just happen in the capital in Dhaka, it also happened elsewhere in Chittagong, in Sylhet as well.